So I am here today with a very interesting guest from a very interesting group. I'm sure you guys have, if you are, into sales and potentially even if looking at a marketing obviously as well, have heard or come across the Revenue Collective. I've got actually Aaron Leeder here, who is a senior director in partnerships and alliances at the Revenue Collective. I don't want to take too much away, but I think it's a very interesting edge to today's interview because we have this group of revenue leaders who are pushing the boundaries forward, and we're going to talk with Aaron about how he's thinking about growth for the organization, also from a partnerships angle, and curious to learn about Aaron's path to where he is today as well. So Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lisa. It's nice to meet you.
Very cool. So maybe give us your own little summary. What's the Revenue Collective all about in your own words?
Absolutely. So we're a community of sales, marketing, customer success, and revenue operations leaders, mostly coming from B2B SaaS, although we're interested in other backgrounds and verticals. So you shouldn't be turned away if you're not coming from the ecosystem. And the main premise is we're helping folks unlock their professional potential. There's three main buckets that we like to focus on. There's opportunities for peer-to-peer learning. There's opportunities for training and certification, how you're up-leveling your career. And then we have a career services department that focuses on those who are not in a role right now, on those who may need legal help, on those who may need negotiation help. And the core tenet for the community is that we're helping people. It is tough to navigate as a growth operator in a high growth company. There's a lot of wild expectations, and you're perhaps not given the internal support from your company. And we're all here to help each other.
Very good. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk a little bit about it, what are sort of the levers and the help that a Revenue Collective can provide. I'm curious first to learn about sort of the members, or for that matter, the typical, let's say, community members, or maybe if you could call it clients of the Revenue Collective. Like who do you find in those groups of people?
So it's a little over half of the community. We're crossing 4,000 members right now. A little over half of those would identify as sales. So when you led and you start talking about sales first, that is the correct assumption. A little over a third are marketers. And then the remaining bundle there are either in customer success or operations. So like the most common titles are CRO, VP of sales, followed by CMO, VP of marketing.
Gotcha. And as you mentioned, they are across verticals, but very much focused on, B2B SaaS from what I'm getting, right?
Correct.
Okay, very cool. Maybe tell us a little bit, as far as you've been involved, about the journey, right, of somebody getting started. Like, what is the path that people hear and learn about the Revenue Collective and ultimately getting started? So what are the channels that people go through in order to get started?
Absolutely. So a lot of it has been word of mouth and from people self-identifying on LinkedIn as they join the community. We did not have marketing up until this past fall, and we're so grateful we have a marketing leader now, but everything was coming inbound. Every single member, once they submit an application, they are required to go through an interview process, and not everybody is a fit. Some self-identify that they're not a fit, but typically we don't have CEOs in the group. We don't have consultants. It's truly those working at a high growth company and in those positions. And once they are onboarded, they're integrated into our Slack ecosystem. They have the accessibility to our knowledge hub. That's like one of the big pieces once you are inside Revenue Collective. And an opportunity to be a part of small councils, to meet other like-minded individuals, an opportunity to do geographic focus meetups. So we do have a chapter model, and pre-COVID, we used to get together in person for dinners and happy hours. Right now, that's all happening over the internet. And mentorship, that's like one of the other thing that people immediately have access to once they're onboarded and they're a part of the community.
Cool. Like a very, very practical thing maybe is for people who are in those companies right now, because obviously it's always great. Like, is it typically, that people, go sort of as a group from their companies? Are companies supporting the participation? Can you give us maybe an insight of what is typically the path that somebody would get started?
Yeah, for sure. And I would say up until maybe 3 months ago, it was more individuals. So individuals joining as themselves and not as a representative of their company. It's like 40% of the community has their company cover the dues as part of professional development. 60% pay themselves out of pocket. But what we are seeing arise in the last 3 months is companies wanting to get involved. And our head of growth, her name's Laura Guerra, she's been instrumental in developing a program we're calling RC for Teams, where now we're having 25, 30, 50 people join at once from a company. And we're excited that it's going to light a fire under our growth, but we're also paying attention to make sure that we're doing the right thing so that, of course, everyone who joins is still qualified. And second, that when you have 50 people join at once from one company, that we're providing the support, that they don't get lost and just become a number.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I know you're not involved as much with the website. We talk quite a bit about websites and the path one presents, so I can not resist at least to ask, like, in your perspective, like, what role would you say the website plays in winning new individuals to join the community?
So if I'm on, I guess like we can get into like my role a little bit later, but when I'm on a call with a prospective partner or even a prospective member, I use the website. I wouldn't say like in a demo capacity, but to show a little bit of here's why people join as a member. I think a common misconception, or at least like first step for people, is like, oh, I heard Revenue Collective is a Slack community and I want to network. And that is true. That is part of what we do. But when you go on our website and you go to the page member benefits, you can see truly like the 3 buckets that we're working across, where Slack is a part of it, but not really the whole story. And then the other angle I'll use our website is in helping people understand what our partnerships entail and who our key partners are, why they have worked with us, a little of the story of their successes, so a potential partner can understand why they're in a conversation with me.
Gotcha. You pointed to your role, and I'm obviously very curious to look at this from a partnership side, because for many people it might not be as obvious as to what that all entails. Maybe you can tell us a little bit, about your role, like what is the responsibilities that you would take on within the Revenue Collective?
For sure. So there's a division that deals with member growth. There's a division that is working on marketing. There's operations, and then there's success. We call member success what other organizations would call customer success. And I interact with all those leaders and I get some FaceTime with those departments. But in partnerships, we sit in this space that it's like anything else that comes in that perhaps wouldn't necessarily fit into growth or success. So that involves at times conversations with executive search firms, conversations with venture capitalists. And then in most cases, it is these deeper partners who are the sponsors across their category. And I'm the facilitator, and also making sure that they're getting the brand representation and unification alongside Revenue Collective, but that their activity is not seen as overly commercial by the members.
Yeah.
That the members can learn about revenue intelligence from Gong without feeling like Gong is hitting them over the head with their Gong. And the same goes across our partners for revenue operations, for sales engagement. And an idea being that you can integrate with the Revenue Collective membership and bring a lot of value so that they'll think of you when they're ready to opt in, rather than be bombarded by your sales development efforts.
Makes complete sense. So, maybe if some people are listening in, heading up marketing teams of interesting products, what would be the ways one could collaborate with the Revenue Collective? Maybe you could give us an idea of what that could look like.
Absolutely. So we have what has become traditional, I guess, over the last year. We have like traditional webinars, podcast advertising, banners in emails, like some more lightweight activities. And then what I think is truly interesting are the co-branded research that we do with our partners, getting to the heart of the category that is interesting to them, the area where they can provide their subject matter expertise. And another one that's really cool is integrating our partners into our Slack ecosystem so that they always, we used to have dinners. That was the way you integrated with Revenue Collective, and you could have a seat at the table and participate in a thought leadership dinner. The Slack channel we view as an avenue where you can always have a seat at the table of your category and participate, but always in mind that it is a soft sell by not selling and just bringing in content, perhaps sharing in content that isn't your own. That's just bringing in speakers, ideas of other folks who are experts in the space, and give value, give value, give value. And then when somebody is ready, they'll come to you.
Very, very interesting. Cool. That definitely gives us an insight a little bit about how people can or companies can partner with the Revenue Collective. I want to switch gears a little bit, and learn about you as a leader on the partnership side of things for the company. I would be curious, right, with all of the influx of information about revenue, marketing, sales strategies, how do you keep on educating yourself further? Like, what is the ways that you educate yourself? Where do you read? How do you filter? Maybe you can give us an insight.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of, and this is like a selfish win, and then something that has become available to all of our members is through Sales Impact Academy. So they're out of the UK, and we formed a deep partnership with them where all of our members have access to their course materials. And if you go to salesimpact.io, you can find out a lot of, I think right now they're north of 30 courses. By the end of this year, they're going to have over 100 courses in exactly the topics you just touched upon, where they're bringing in the industry leading experts across all these verticals. So that's become a nice way for me to continue my education in my role and have access to resources. And then also internally, we have something for our members. So those on like the VP of sales or VP of growth trajectory who want to learn what it takes to become a CRO, we have a program called CRO School. We also have a program for our associate members. So think managers and directors who want to get to VP. We have a year-long cycle called Rising Executives Program. So I've been able to see the materials, dip in and out as appropriate, and learn a little bit. And a lot of what we're offering is powerful ways to continue to educate.
Very, very cool. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, we will have our rapid fire questions just at the end. There's just one last question that, because we talk a lot about conversions, conversion rates, optimizations on pages. What I would be curious about, right? Counter to a lot of sort of, wisdom on the internet, or let's call it wisdom, you have a very, very long application form on the website. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Is this like a very conscious decision? Like, what's the reasoning behind that? Maybe you can give us an idea.
Extremely conscious, because we want there to be buy-in from the individuals who are coming. That if you're joining Revenue Collective, you are also bringing a certain amount of expertise. With every single member who joins, we get that much smarter and more diverse and more dynamic. And I think that the application, the process, and the member customer journey from beginning to end should feel like you are making an investment in coming into this with your time, because it's, as cliche as it sounds, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out.
Yep.
That's one piece of it. And we do not want it to feel, we want it to feel quick, but we do not want it to feel automated. And I think that you are matching the tone, and we're going to mirror you all the way as a member, that you are putting in a lot of critical information as a human, and it will be read by a human who will then interview you. Once you are given access, you will get a call from another human being to check in and see how you're doing. And I think that part of like the instant gratification across everything in the world, and many software products are trying to create this ability to use the product and be able to take care of yourself and be self-serving and not need to deal with anyone else. And you are the customer, and you get the software, and the software answers your questions. Where we are going, and like where we have been and where the story will continue to go, is that there are human beings on the other side of that application, and on the other end of the phone, and on the other side of the Slack instance, or wherever we will be messaging, that are there to spend time with you and help you achieve your goals. And I think that will be kind of like a differentiator, or an area where we're challenging a lot of the ecosystem that Revenue Collective will set itself aside.
Very cool. As I mentioned, we're slowly coming to the end of the interview. Would love to jump into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. What's the last book that you read?
What was the last book I read? It was actually a parenting book, and I don't remember the name of it. And it has to do with having your second child, and like things you should keep in mind for your first child. The name escapes me right now. I'll email it to you.
Very cool. What's the one single thing the Revenue Collective is focused on the most at the moment?
Our members' delight.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing that you would want to have fixed for the Revenue Collective?
That's a great question. I think something along the lines of like even deeper, like instant gratification while still being human. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the Revenue Collective?
Accepting new partners into our ecosystem while keeping our members happy.
And the very last question would be, if today would be your very first day, right? You're taking part in working with the Revenue Collective. What's the one advice you would give yourself after everything that you've learned?
I would have spent more time on member conversations in my early days.
Very good. Aaron, I really appreciate that you took the time with us to spend your valuable time on PathMonk Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting everything we discussed about the Revenue Collective, what's one thing they should remember?
We're here to help people in their careers. I think if you're interested, or you think your company would be interested, please reach out to me. My email is Aaron, AARON, @revenuecollective.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Aaron Leeder, LEED as in dog, ER. And it'll be a pleasure to meet with you.
Thanks a lot for being part of the show.
Take care, Lucas.